Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract abundance and success effortlessly, while others, even those who pray, work hard, and believe deeply, remain stuck in the same cycle of financial struggle? What if the answer has been hidden from you all along, buried under centuries of fear, misunderstanding, and silence? You are about to hear something so powerful that it could change forever the way you see money and what the Bible truly teaches about it. For centuries, this truth has been ignored, censored, and even erased from sermons, but it was never lost. It has been waiting for someone like you to uncover it, to wake up to what God has always intended for His people. Not a life of survival, but a life of divine purpose and abundance. The truth is that the Bible speaks about wealth, prosperity, and stewardship far more than most people realize. Yet, generation after generation, these teachings were watered down, misinterpreted, or simply avoided altogether. Religious systems often taught that poverty was a sign of holiness, that suffering was a test, and that wealth was dangerous. But the real danger is ignorance, living without understanding the spiritual laws that govern increase and abundance. God never designed you to struggle endlessly. He designed you to grow, to multiply, and to be a blessing to others. This message is not about greed or materialism. It is about purpose. True prosperity is not about having more. It is about becoming more. It is about unlocking the divine principles of creation, the same principles that govern energy, thought, and reality itself. Quantum mechanics teaches us that everything in existence vibrates at a certain frequency, and the Bible confirms this through faith. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. What you believe, you attract. What you focus on, expands. And for centuries, these laws have been taught in science while being quietly removed from faith. But today, those two worlds are coming together. What if wealth was never the problem, but your perception of it was? What if money is not evil, but simply a tool, a reflection of how aligned you are with the spiritual laws of abundance? The Bible says, "It is the Lord who gives you power to get wealth," but most people were never taught what that power truly means. It is not about luck, chance, or hustle. It is about energy, mindset, faith, and alignment with divine order. Once you see it, you can never unsee it. Once you know it, you cannot go back to living the same way. Today, you are going to discover the 5 biblical rules of money, truths that were hidden, censored, and silenced by the very systems that feared their power. Because when a person understands how heaven's economy works, they become unstoppable. The problem is not that God withheld these secrets. It is that humanity buried them. But you, right now, are standing on the threshold of revelation. This video is not for everyone. It is for those who are ready to wake up, to take responsibility, to align their energy, their faith, and their purpose with divine truth. If you are tired of living in limitation, if you know deep down that you were made for more, then stay with me until the end. Because the next few minutes could open your eyes to something that religion never told you, and science is only beginning to confirm. Before we go any further, I want you to take a small but powerful action. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below, "I am ready." This is not just engagement, it is a declaration. When you write those words, you are saying yes to a new level of understanding, to the activation of divine prosperity in your life. You are setting an intention, aligning your energy with what is about to be revealed. Take a breath, open your heart, and prepare yourself. Because what comes next may challenge everything you thought you knew about God, money, and your true purpose. If deep inside you feel that there's something greater meant for you, something beyond just working hard, paying bills, and barely making it, then now is the time to act. Tap the like button right now, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Because what you're about to hear isn't just a message to shift your finances. It's a revelation that could transform your entire life, starting with your mind, your faith, and your soul. This isn't about getting rich quick. It's about breaking free from spiritual poverty, from generational limitation, and stepping boldly into the abundance God designed for you. Let this be the moment where everything changes. Stay with me. In the shadows of ancient temples, long before the concept of currency or the modern banking system existed, there was a code, sacred, powerful, and passed down from the divine. A code not written on credit contracts or spreadsheets, but carved into the very essence of spiritual law. This wasn't just wisdom for the elite or commands for the clergy. This was a legacy, a divine inheritance intended for all of God's people. But somewhere along the way, it was hidden, silenced. Not because it lost power, but because it gave power. Real, spiritual, life-changing power. The kind of power that doesn't just buy freedom, it awakens purpose. Now imagine an ordinary man, a man much like you, bound by fear, confined by bills, working hard but never truly free. He's heard about God, he's prayed, he's done everything religion taught him, but he's still trapped in the cycle of barely surviving. One day, he stumbles upon an ancient scroll sealed in red wax, faded but intact, and as he unrolls it, his eyes land on words that were never shared from a pulpit. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Proverbs 13:22. And something shifts inside him. He realizes, wait a minute, this was in the Bible the whole time? Then why has no one ever taught it like this? Why was I never told that part of honoring God is building legacy, creating wealth that serves generations, planting seeds today that become trees of provision tomorrow? That's the moment something breaks. Not in the world outside, but inside. The mental prison of scarcity begins to crack, and for the first time, he doesn't see himself as a servant to money, but as a steward of divine abundance. This is the first rule, the first truth. Legacy is holy. Legacy is spiritual. Legacy is your responsibility. But religion made it sound selfish, as if desiring abundance was sinful, as if saving, investing, or building wealth was somehow not in alignment with God. Yet here it is, written plainly, a good man, a righteous man. A man who walks with God, leaves something behind that blesses not just his children, but his children's children. And now I ask you, why wasn't this taught in church? Why were we told to be content with less, to avoid money, to fear success? Why were we taught that struggle was noble, while prosperity was suspicious? Could it be that for too long the systems built around faith were more concerned with control than with empowerment? Because when a believer understands their right to divine inheritance, to a spiritual legacy, they stop being manipulated by fear and start moving in purpose. Let me ask you this. What kind of legacy are you leaving? What if you're not just called to survive, but to establish a foundation so solid that your grandchildren will thank you for decisions you make today? This is about more than money. It's about your identity as a child of God, your alignment with the laws of abundance, and your commitment to build something that lasts beyond you. That's what the enemy tried to steal. Not just your paycheck, but your purpose. Not just your savings, but your seed. Because if you never see yourself as a carrier of divine wealth, you'll never act like one. You'll live small, think small, expect small, and that's the real tragedy. But now you see, now you're aware. The first rule was never really hidden. It was simply not spoken aloud, until now. And if this is already shifting something in your heart, then don't keep it inside. Right now, comment the word legacy if you believe God is calling you to something greater. Not just for you, but for those who come after you. Your story doesn't end in struggle. It begins with revelation, and this revelation is only just beginning. But once your heart begins to awaken to this truth of legacy, another question starts to rise deep inside your spirit. If God values inheritance, if the Bible speaks clearly about financial preparation and long-term vision, then why have we been taught that seeking wealth is wrong? Why is it that the moment you mention abundance or money within faith circles, it feels like you're crossing an invisible line? The answer is unsettling, but it's time to face it. For far too long, a dangerous lie has been passed down through generations, that wealth is inherently evil, that desiring more is selfish, that humility means having nothing. But when you look at the Bible, really look, you'll find something completely different. Not man's interpretation, not watered-down theology, but divine intention. And it's written clearly in Deuteronomy 8:18. But remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to acquire wealth, that he may confirm his covenant which he swore to your fathers, as it is this day. Let that sink in for a moment. Power to acquire wealth, not a suggestion, not an accident, a spiritual gift, a divine ability. God himself is the source of this power, and he gives it, not to glorify greed, but to confirm his covenant. In other words, your prosperity is connected to his promise. Your increase is a confirmation, a manifestation, a testimony that the word is alive in your life. This is not about riches for the sake of riches. This is about aligning with your mission, your assignment, your purpose. And here's the shift that most never make. When you stop seeing money as something worldly, and start seeing it as a tool for spiritual fulfillment. You no longer chase it, you command it. Because when your heart is aligned with heaven's values, abundance becomes a byproduct of obedience. You begin to walk in divine flow. You sow with intention, and you reap with authority. You give with joy, and you build with vision. You stop asking, "Is it wrong to prosper?" and start declaring, "I was born to multiply what God placed in my hands." The truth is, you were never meant to just get by. You were designed to thrive. But thriving isn't just about having more. It's about doing more with what you have. It's about funding purpose, feeding the hungry, freeing your family from cycles of lack, and fulfilling the specific call that only you can walk in. This is what the enemy wanted to keep from you. Not just money, but mission-driven prosperity. The kind of financial flow that impacts generations, builds ministries, and transforms entire communities. But how do you step into that level of authority? It starts with believing you already have it. Because the Bible doesn't say God might give you power to prosper. It says He already has. It's written, it's promised, it's yours. All that's left is for you to activate it. And if this is speaking to you right now, if you feel that stirring in your chest, that sense that you were born for more than survival, that you are meant to prosper for a higher purpose, then I want you to do something bold. Comment the word authority below if you accept this truth. Let it be your declaration. Let it be your shift. Because the moment you claim your authority, you stop living like a servant of circumstances and start walking like a steward of divine wealth. And there's still more to reveal. Because having authority is one thing, but being tested in that authority is another. And that's exactly where we're going next. We often talk about money as if it's just a number, a tool, or simply a means to get by. But the truth, especially the spiritual truth, goes much deeper. Money is not neutral. It is not passive. It doesn't just sit there in your wallet or bank account without meaning. According to the Bible, money tests us. It reveals us. It's not about the amount. It's about how we handle it. Luke 16:11 says it with piercing clarity. If you have not been faithful with unrighteous wealth, who will entrust you with the true riches? This isn't just a warning. It's a spiritual law, the test of wealth. And here we uncover the third hidden rule of divine prosperity. Faithfulness in little opens the door to much. That means how you handle your resources today determines what you'll be trusted with tomorrow. That unused gift, that ignored tithe, that impulse spending, that seed never sown, those are not just bad habits. They're missed opportunities to prove your readiness. Because the truth is, money doesn't change who you are. It magnifies who you already are. And for those who are called to walk in God's abundance, this test is not optional. It's foundational. Imagine being given a small amount of wealth and treating it like it doesn't matter, because you're waiting for one day to be blessed for real. But in the kingdom, the one day begins with today's test. Are you faithful with the little you have now? Do you honor God with it? Do you sow wisely? Do you manage it with integrity? Do you let it serve you? Or do you serve it? Because if you cannot steward what is temporary and external, how will you ever be trusted with what is eternal and internal, like influence, revelation, or divine strategy? Now let's take it even deeper. There's a fourth principle, a divine code of abundance, found in 2 Corinthians 9:8. And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. This is where the spiritual rubber meets the road. Abundance is not the destination. It is the equipment. It is not a reward for being good. It's a resource for fulfilling divine purpose. God doesn't bless you so you can feel important. He blesses you so you can become a vessel of impact. And this is where the old traditions failed us. They warned about the dangers of wealth. And yes, without wisdom, prosperity can destroy. But they failed to teach the greater truth. Prosperity with ignorance breeds ruin. Prosperity with revelation builds legacy. The test is not about keeping you small. It's about proving you trustworthy. And once you pass it, you don't just increase financially. You expand spiritually. You gain access to clarity, vision, influence, and divine momentum. Your life begins to overflow, not just for you, but for everyone connected to your obedience. Because when God can get resources through you, He will get resources to you. You become a distribution center of blessing, and suddenly, bills no longer scare you. Opportunities find you. Ideas flow. Generational chains break. and your life shifts from struggling to surviving to significantly sowing. But it starts with a single decision. Will I pass the test? So right now, let this be your moment of alignment. If you feel the weight of this truth, if you know God has been whispering this to your spirit for a long time, but today it finally clicked, don't stay silent. Type "ready" in the comments if you're choosing to prosper with wisdom, if you're done making excuses, and you're ready to activate the divine code of abundance in your life. Because the test was never to disqualify you, it was to prepare you. And once you step into this understanding, the real overflow begins. But first, there's one final truth you must know. And now, we've reached the point that most people avoid. The line that separates the many who remain in cycles of limitation from the few who dare to step into divine transformation. Everything we've talked about until now wasn't theory. These weren't just ideas to make you feel better or momentary motivation to carry you through your week. These were keys, 5 biblical rules, spiritual technologies, if you will, meant to activate a shift in your life right now. Not someday, not when things finally get better. Now, this is not about survival anymore. This is about the turning point. This is about crossing the threshold into something sacred, the life you were created to live. Now you know. You know that legacy is not just wise, it's holy. That wealth, when aligned with purpose, is a tool of God, not a trap of the enemy. That money itself isn't evil. It's a test, and it either refines or reveals what already exists inside of you. You've discovered that abundance is never about accumulation, but about assignment. You've seen how ignorance of these truths kept generations bound in spiritual and financial lack, not because God willed it, but because systems feared your awakening. Yes, feared, because when a believer discovers that heaven's economy is alive and available, they stop settling for scraps and start building with kingdom power. These truths were never meant to be secrets. They were always there, in plain sight. But culture distorted them, religion diluted them, and fear silenced them. Why? Because the moment you truly believe that God's plan for you includes freedom, influence, and divine provision, you become dangerous to darkness. You become a threat to every lie that's been whispered to keep you small. You stop accepting average. You stop seeing money as the end goal and start seeing it as fuel for your mission. This isn't prosperity gospel. This is prosperity truth, rooted in Scripture, activated by faith, carried by purpose. And if you've come this far in the video, it's because something deep within you already knows. You were born for more, and it's time to stop playing small. But let me ask you something personal. Now that you've heard the truth, what will you do with it? Because truth without action becomes just another sermon you forget by tomorrow. But truth, when it meets decision, becomes destiny. So here's your chance to decide. Will you go deeper? Will you confront what you've been taught and explore what God truly says about your freedom, your finances, and your future? Because there's more. In the next video, they lied to you about God's prosperity. Discover the truth. We're going to dive into the real reason so many Christians feel guilty about wanting more, the distorted teachings that were passed down to keep you playing small, and how to break the spiritual ceiling that's been holding you back. It's raw, it's real, and it's exactly what you need if you're serious about walking in the freedom and financial clarity God always intended for you. So here's what I want you to do now. Don't wait. Subscribe to the channel right now and hit the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Like this video, so the algorithm pushes it to more people who need this truth today. Share it with that friend or family member who's been stuck, confused, or afraid of money. And most importantly, go to the comments right now and declare, "I choose God's prosperity." Write it boldly. Let it be your line in the sand. Let it be your agreement with heaven's abundance over your life. Then, click the video on the screen right now to keep going, because what's coming next might be the most important truth you've never been told. Together, let's break the silence, shatter the limits, and step fully into the purpose God has already written for you. We're not just building followers, we're building freedom, and this is only the beginning.